So the story of me and my big, lovable, goofy puppy that is now immortalized on the wall here. Well, you've talked about my mental health problems before. Like, it started hitting really hard around 2017. And my mom was especially concerned about it. And I guess, might have put the idea in her head that, I'd probably be able to cope with it a lot better if I had someone with me. And of course, we've had dogs before, family dogs, and as dogs do, they passed away. The last dog we had died when I was 13, so this would have been like almost 10 years later. And I think I was of the mind that I would like a dog because I love dogs. But, I'd prefer to get one that's already been house trained and all that. And like a few months after I quit my job and I was about to go back to school, summer of 2018, my mother and I drove out to New Brunswick, drove out to Fredericton, and we picked him up. Because Harley was 2 years old when we got him. And he had a bit of a turbulent history with homes because the two families that had him before us were both military families. Like the dads of the families were veterans, and I think the first family got him when he was a puppy and they couldn't really take care of him, so they gave him to another family whose veteran male was suffering from post-traumatic stress disorder because, of his job and all that, and getting a dog would probably help, and it did. Unfortunately, his 3-year-old son was sadly terrified of Harley because, it's a big dog and taking care of him is a bit of a hassle, and they eventually decided they couldn't keep him. So my mom's old college friend reached out to her and said, "Hey, we've got a dog that is in need of a home. He's 2 years old. His current family can't take care of him because their toddler son is just terrified of him." And yeah, we drove out to meet him, and yeah, he was interested in us for a little while. He kept wandering around because that's what he liked to do, and eventually after the whole conversation died down, he hopped in the truck with us and we just drove back to the homestead that we have in New Brunswick. And at first I had these sort of like guilty feelings, like separating him from a family he probably loved. And even then, once we let him out of the truck, he just started wandering around and going up the driveway like he was going to start making his way back. But, a few nights went by and I stayed by his side and gave him all the loving I needed, and he started to trust me and my mom. I mean, he was still a bit of a goof, like he'd hop up on counters and try to snatch food and all that because, he was a big dog, he could reach. And we also have this pond by the homestead that normally there's a whole bunch of fish that's swimming around in there, just like a speckled trout and all that. And he liked to go for a swim in there. We couldn't really stop him because, he's a big dog. If he wants to do something, he's going to do it. Although, one time he came out with a leash on his foot, so I think he learned his lesson there. Yeah. A few months later, we eventually managed to get him back to our home here in Ontario. And, of course, my dad met him and my dad didn't really want another dog because he'd been through the pain of losing one too many times. But yeah, he and my brother and sister fell in love with Harley the moment they saw him. Yeah, like we had our ups and downs trying to like housebreak him a little bit. Well, not break him, but you know. Now, what we used to do, because he's a big dog and he's got a lot of fur and he's best suited for winter, so he tires out real easy and he has to drink a lot of water, especially during the summer. So because he can reach, we can just turn on the tap in the sink, and he just lean on over and just start lapping it up because he's too high class for the toilet. And you know, sometimes he get wound up and play, and even though he was really big and he was very aware of his body, like he could weave around stuff to not smash into it, and he'd walk backwards out of rooms if he couldn't turn around. He still thought, he didn't realize just how big he was. And he'd often get excited to see people when going on walks, and like he'd bark and jump and do all that, which he wouldn't hurt a fly, but of course that looks really scary when you have a 160-pound dog doing that at you. And he was also a lap dog. As in, if I was watching TV or playing a video game and there was space on the couch, he'd just walk right over and sit on my lap. Yeah, it was fine though. You know what? It was totally fine. I didn't care because I knew that meant he trusted me, and yeah, I think, well, he loved everyone in the family equally. He especially took the time to make sure I was happy, because that was the entire reason we got him, to help with my mental health. And yeah, he really, really did. Yeah, well, he loved winter time, obviously. You'd have to really fight to get him inside after you let him out into the snow, because he'd just like roll around in it and sort of lay down and get comfortable, and he'd snack on the snow as well. Like he'd just bend down, scoop some snow up and start munching on it. In fact, a few months back, I just saw him rolling around in place in the snow, and I thought, what are you doing? Are you trying to make a snow angel or something? Yeah, 6 years, lots of great memories. And he was just happy to be with us, even if he was too lazy to really do a whole lot. Although he did love tug of war and play growled a lot, you know. Like he'd grab a toy and he'd want you to take it out of his mouth, but he'd like hold on to it. And as you tugged, he'd go like, just, you know. But, you know, he wasn't trying to be scary. He was just playing. I'll tell you what some of my favorite memories are of him. It's like early in the morning when I'm just starting to wake up. He'd come into my room and he'd just like headbutt the door open and just hop up on the bed with me and like roll over and lay down, and I just like lay down right beside him, and we just sort of stayed like that for a while. And I, you know, give him some tummy scritches and scratch under his chin and between his eyes. He especially liked that. And if I just stopped, all of a sudden he'd just like look up at me like, you know, hey, what are you doing? Keep petting. Yeah, we spoiled him, but he was worth spoiling because he was so good to us. It's still really hard getting over the pain of losing a pet, but at the same time, we had 6 great years with him, and yeah, I'd gladly do it all again just to be able to be with him. And I'm always going to have those feelings like maybe there's something I could have done that could have helped him stay with us longer, but you know, you need to get that out of your head whenever you lose a loved one, because if you start blaming yourself, that's just like that's just like a massive downward spiral that you're never going to be able to climb out of. And I've been there with my grandparents and the dogs that came before Harley, and because people often say to just remember all the good times you had, and even though that is like bargain basement advice at this point, it's still true. It's still true. Like, 6 years doesn't seem that long compared to other pets' lives, but you know, it is still a good chunk of my life that I wouldn't trade away for anything. And I'm really happy he could give that to me. And all he asked was that we just take care of him and love him. And we did the best we could. He'd be the first one to be there for me when I was feeling down, and he wouldn't want me feeling sad about him now. And I love him so much for that. And I am gonna miss him.